All right, welcome to the first episode of a series that I don't know what I'm going to call it yet, but we're focusing on Magneto and list building around Magneto. This is a list that I've played about 15 games with. I've got over 100 games with Magneto at this point over the last 3 years, but this particular list with Lockjaw mixed into it is something I've only started playing fairly recently. It's something that Kohler and I have been experimenting with, working with, and I wouldn't call this list anywhere near finished. I think I'd call it more of like a beta phase. I've got about 15 games. He's probably got a little bit more than that at this point. And it's got some pain points and some things we can iron out. But I want to go over in this video the characters and also like why you would play this list. Because I think most people are leaning into Mystique right now at the moment, and there's nothing wrong with that. She's great. But I play this game for this guy right here. That's my boy. My three favorite characters in all of comic books are Magneto, Emma Frost, and Green Lantern. So the fact that I can play both of these characters in the same list, the fact that she's affiliated with Brotherhood is great here. We'll talk about Rhino and Bill in the list because if you want to be a snowflake, I think you can still get a lot of mileage out of this list without playing them. She's not here for my Hellfire Club. I think peak competitive play, you want her to have that backup plan, but in the 15 games I played, I only went Hellfire Club once, and I actually don't feel like I needed to do that. I think I would have been even better in that game if I just played Magneto. So in this episode, we're going to talk about these 10 characters, why we're playing Magneto, and then what are some alternate characters, Crisis combos that we can maybe bring in. I might go Crisis in a completely separate video, where I might also go over some of the deployment stuff. So this is Magneto. The fact that he can give you so much power round one is really, really powerful. So we started calling this list Spirit of Magneto because I was mentioning to Caller that Magneto's leadership is like a Spirit of Wakanda-like effect. When you combine him with Lockjaw, maybe Juggernaut or Rhino, something like that, where we're breaking two terrain pieces round one, we're handing out two power to a bunch of characters, and we're able to do things that AMG never meant for us to be able to do round one. So we're also able to put a lot of pressure on the board with Magneto. So for instance, with Lockjaw, round one, so here we would do something with Juggernaut where we can, move. Whoops, classic. We can move, we get our power, we could slide, breaking this. So he would slide and get somewhere like right there. He could pick up that scroll if he's not pushed. He moves back to relative safety. And in that process, we were able to generate, let's see, he would be on 2. He gets 1 back. We could put, that was a size 2 terrain piece. Maybe we could even put the construct somewhere over there so we can generate power to the whole team. Let's say we did that. Let's say we put the construct there and everybody got a power. I don't think breaking your construct round one is usually the best. I think there's other things we could be doing here, but let's just say we did. I think I would probably not give power to Pyro in this situation if I was only breaking that size 2 terrain piece. Actually, I probably would break the construct to make sure that Magneto and Lockjaw got power. And then the Web Warrior player is like, oh, Black Cat's going to go pick this up, be safe. This doesn't have to be a scroll. This could be like a hammer or a legacy virus, something like that. In this scenario against Web Warriors with priority, I took extracts because I want to avoid paranoia. And I've deployed Magneto fairly centrally here, so he can kind of reach either scroll. Now, I would probably cheat him more to the left or right, and this is at 17 threat. We'll talk later how at 18 threat and above, this list really shines, and that's where we want to be. But I'm going with like not a great example here. I'm going with a more worst case scenario. So let's say we do something like this where we can Lockjaw gets power. He gets 3. Then he could throw this 1 into this 1. Well, this 3, I think he could throw size 3. Yeah, size 3 or less and throw a medium. So we could throw this 3 into a 1, generating 4 power again for the whole team to get 4 power. If we were 5 wide, that's even more ridiculous because a lot of times at 18 we want to bring Rhino. We can bring Rhino and Lockjaw at 18. And now Rhino's starting with 3 power to slide and pressure this other scroll. In this scenario at 17, I'm playing Pyro, so Pyro can move up. He can play pyrotechnics. He can root slow someone over here. Juggernaut probably slides back more this way and starts to pressure this side point. So you have Juggernaut and Pyro kind of going for this side, and then you let Magneto control this side by himself. Eventually, you want to get the extract lead, bunker up on this side of the board, and have Magneto, Asteroid M in, and Refraction, etc. The list works better at 5 wide, which again is why 18 above is where we want to be, and we'll see that in the Crisis selection. But I'm just going to delete this just to see like the maximum range with terrain, what it could be like. Again, if I know this is the strategy, if I have priority, I can cheat Magneto over. But generally, if I go here, the first teleport, Lockjaw moves up and just contests this. And now Magneto walks. He won't get to the point, but he walks. He's within 2. Black Cat picked up, so she doesn't have power to brace. He's got 3 power on him. Now he throws a size 3 Terrarium piece at Black Cat. And he still has an attack online. So now I just added another 3 power to the team. If we were again at that 18 point, you know, we've added power once again to the rest of the squad. And Rhino's sitting in a really good spot. So he throws this terrain piece at Black Cat. Say he does 2-3 damage. And then he rolls 6 dice into her. And 6, even though I can't do the crits and the modifying dice thing, I'm still rolling 6 into a Black Cat that presumably has taken 2 or 3 damage. And we're very likely to get her round 1. I've had 3 games in the last few weeks where Wakanda, Web Warriors, and Criminal Syndicate all moved up with Black Cat, grabbed a side extract round 1 on a D shape, because I had Prio and I took my extracts, and Magneto was able to go and Daze Cat round 1. 3 separate games. Now, if I wanted to, I could cheat him more this way. So as long as I'm within a short move, to get to this point, we could have cheated him this way, cheat him over here. That terrain piece maybe messes that up a little bit. But if I do something like that, we can even walk and be on the point. So he can walk, be on the point, and then throw and attack. And now we're able to score more VPs that way. I don't like picking up an extract with Magneto because that defeats the purpose of like having Asteroid M available to you later. But alternatively, we could always use Asteroid M to pivot Pyro to this side. Juggernaut comes down here, something along those lines. Or Lockjaw next round teleports this way, and we bunker on these points. But that's the basic strategy we're going for. Again, this 4 wide does not really want to be at 17. The list has some problems at 17, but I don't think this is bad at all. I want Juggernaut into Web Warriors. Like, Juggernaut and Pyro could easily be Rogue and Rhino. That's not a bad opener. But generally, I'd rather have into Webs Juggernaut. And then we want to bring Lockjaw as much as possible on spread maps. We don't always want Lockjaw on the other maps. But I found this to be a really fun way to play the game with Magneto. I haven't feared Bs or Ds. I've been playing... I'm taking my extracts with Prio, and then my opponents are typically taking their D shapes to avoid my Crises selection. So we're slowing the game down. Now, Skrulls is my fastest scoring Crisis, but 20 threat's so good that if we lose priority and we're able to field like a 20 threat team of Magneto, Lockjaw, Toad, Jugs, Rhino, that team is so good into most scenario teams. If we're playing against Criminal Syndicate, maybe Rhino becomes either Bill or Rogue for the displacement. But Magneto at 19 20 threat is so strong in this game. So I really like that. So anyway, so we see here the kind of pressure. We can start with Magneto. Then we grab our extracts. We try to get a 3-1 lead on something like Skrulls or a 2-1 lead on something like Legacy. And then we bunker up. If people are coming into Magneto, he's got like this great zone of control. The way I look at Magneto is kind of like if you're a fighting game player, Ryu in Street Fighter, where the fireball and the medium kick are tools that we use to control space on the screen. I come from a fighting game background, so I want to use Magneto to control space on the screen. If you look at, I don't know if I have it recorded. I know Deaton has it recorded, but a game where he beat me. But if you watch the whole game, he's constantly measuring to be outside of range 3 of Magneto with his pieces. So even though Magneto isn't hitting those characters, he's still controlling space around him and creating a bubble. So sometimes it's like deception. Sometimes your opponent doesn't walk into the trap and get hit, but that doesn't mean he didn't have an impact on the board, right? So the fact that he can control space, the fact that he gives out cover and hands out so much power in the early rounds is really, really valuable. And you can actually be pretty lazy about power in the sense that you can take risks and be a little sloppy with your power management, but the power train, once it's moving, is so strong that you don't have to worry as much. I also like Juggernaut, by the way, into Webs because Black Cat's weakness, if you want to call it that, is just rolling buckets of dice at her and guaranteed damage, which Juggernaut does both of those things really, really well. Okay, so that's why you might want to play Magneto. Do I think this is peak competitive MCP? No. I think the list that we have here, especially as we continue to iterate on it, I think it has game into just about everything. It's fun. It's thematic. It's largely why I play MCP. I really regret not bringing this list to ACO and getting more reps with it to see what I could have done. But I cowardly took Hellfire just to see how I do playing some top tier stuff. But I think this has really good game into what's currently in the meta. We'll see how mini extravaganza changes things. But I wanted to get this video out there and just my thoughts and Kohler's thoughts on what we've been doing with this list. And if hopefully we get new crises in mini extravaganza, that's what I really want, because I think new crises change this list more than anything. Unless we got a Thanos nerf. Thanos nerf would be super clutch for Magneto, but we'll talk about Thanos in a minute. All right, so the list. I think this, and this are no real surprise. Like, these are Brotherhood staples. We need Lockjaw to enable the turn 1 shenanigans and to apply pressure. I don't always take him on ease. On ease, I might rather go like Magneto, Bill, Rogue, Chugs, or Emma. But sometimes I'll drop Juggernaut and play like Lockjaw, Toad, depending on the crises. Not big on intrusions playing that team, but there's reasons to do this 19. Okay, so those are the less obvious ones. Emma Frost, why is she here? And why no Mystique? So the biggest weakness that Magneto has is into Thanos. Thanos is going to drain power off Magneto because of the wild throw, and he's got the push on his beam, or his energy attack. So Magneto's going to be spending power to force projection to stop being moved. And of course, we have to deal with Cosmic Portal, and now the new Mind Stone Thanos. It's a huge FU to Magneto. So what do we do in that situation? I tried Jean Grey, and Jean Grey was actually really, really good. We'll talk about, like, there's a different build of this team that plays Jean Grey that I think is really strong and worth investing your time. I just really couldn't believe how much I loved Lockjaw. I was really surprised. The fact that he can add a die. It wasn't easy learning him, like, the play patterns here, and I'm still struggling with it a bit, how to get the maximum value out of Lockjaw, but I was really surprised how much I liked him. But anyway, Emma being able to stop the shield mine, stop the Cosmic Portal and the Mind Stone is really big for Magneto. And she hits hard enough with hands off that you can, potentially get a daze on a Zemo that comes up too far. You're stopping Brace, so you could throw Thanos into Zemo or into Skull. Or on Emma's turn, you play Do You Know Who I Am, and you throw a size 4 terrain piece into a Zemo or a Red Skull to try to daze them. People looked at her as a boat anchor. I think people are coming around to that now that she's not. But I love this character. I think she's great. I don't think she's, like top tier or anything like that. I think she's hard to justify outside of affiliation, but she's a Brotherhood affiliated character. And her lack of mobility is aided by Lockjaw. So there could be a EMAP scenario where we do, this team. What's a 3? Oh, Lockjaw. We could do something like this team where Lockjaw is able to move Emma and Magneto around, or add dice to Emma or whatever, and you let Magneto and Bill be the frontline pieces, and Lockjaw is able to shuffle the board around, which is really, really strong. But I'll go over that, like I said, in a separate video, because there's so many use cases for Lockjaw that would surprise you. Some of which, sometimes I'm making mistakes with that. Like I said, it's a learning curve. But Emma, anyway, is great here for shutting off the Thanos stuff. She's also good into webs, and she's my second leader, which I know is not the spiciest take because Hellfire is really, really good right now. I, separate from Emma, was bringing Rhino and Bill. Rhino because the synergy is so good. If you took Robbery out of the game, I would still strongly consider Rhino for this list because he's a size 4, so when you match that with Juggernaut, not a lot of teams can move both of those characters in a round. So you're providing a board presence and a difficult to move factor. Both of these characters are so fast that they make up for Magneto's lack of speed. So yeah, he's really slow, but when you bring Juggernaut, Rhino, Quicksilver that are super fast, Toad that's super mobile, your team is deceptively mobile in that situation. You just have one piece that's really, really slow. And then Rhino being able to also throw terrain feeds back into that, his ability to get anywhere on the board, his strength in the webs. So if anything ever changes with Robbery, I don't see myself immediately dropping him. But we'll talk about other pieces because Rhino and Bill could be other pieces that I think are just as viable if you want to snowflake a little bit. But I just love Rhino. Bill is only in the list because I'm playing demons, and there's nobody in the game better at just standing on a point. So when you have Bill being fed extra power and sitting under magnetic refraction, he's really difficult to move. I also really prefer him at 15 threat. I like this team at 15 threat into the non-Thanos teams. So like I'm playing defenders, Juggernaut can move pieces, and Juggernaut can get to a back gamma. I played against a defenders player who went 4 wide with Wong. So Juggernaut just went to that back gamma and just obliterated Wong. And then Bill and Magneto KO'd Hulk top of 3. Bill constantly throwing pieces off. Magneto feeding him power for his throw, but also for his God Hunter was super useful. So I was getting multiple throws a turn with Bill, essentially. Assuming he rolls well enough on his builder. But Jugs and Magneto providing 2 power a turn to Bill, in addition to his 2 power, meant there were a lot of turns I was able to both God Hunter and get his size 4 character or terrain throw off. So Bill's not really that spicy. I think he could also be something else. Like he could be Apex, and that's perfectly reasonable. I don't mind just playing Rogue in that slot, and Bill could be something like Bill could be another 3 or 5. Like he could be a Jean Grey, or he could be some other piece. Like Bill's not someone I bring a ton. Like he's more of a demons play, or possibly intrusions. And I think he's not that necessary. So if you want to not play Bill, like this list doesn't have to be a Bill Rhino shell. I think it's best when you're playing Rhino, and the fact is that I'm playing Emma as a pivot, so Bill makes a lot of sense. But I don't think you really need him, to be honest. I think Apex would be perfectly fine if you want to be more Brotherhood affiliated. Right now we're playing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Brotherhood affiliated models. So, I mean, if you're playing in a competitive list with 7 affiliated models, I think you're in a good spot. I know some people will look at, well, of course, you're bringing the super common splashes. How spicy. I don't know what to tell you, man. Maybe MCP isn't the right game for you, because having common splashes is kind of just the way the game was built to be. So this doesn't really bother me as much, but like I said, I have other pieces I'm also trying out, and we'll get to that in a moment. Quicksilver. I think Quicksilver could be Mystique, but I think he's actually great under both Emma and Magneto. So I'm playing Hammers and Legacy. So I have 3 steals on my list. I bring Quicksilver out for Hammers and Legacy, and I bring Pyro out on Scrolls potentially. Quicksilver, there's a game I played recently on Lucas' stream against X-Force, you can see, where Quicksilver was great at not dying. And then under Magneto, if he's got 2 power round 1, he's able to, move long and get 2 4-dice attacks into somebody on the midline and potentially steal round 1 to get the extract game going. And then if we're feeding him power, he's able to Trickster or Can't Catch Me to move away back towards the bunker, which is really good. He's also great for pay-to-flips, which I'm bringing 1 of and possibly 2 in the future. So the fact that I have Quicksilver, Jugs, Rhino, Toad, like these are all great pay-to-flip pieces. Even though Rhino's only got 3 defense, the fact that he's so mobile, Quicksilver's so mobile, and Juggernaut's so mobile means that we have like a pretty solid pay-to-flip core here. I don't think there's much else to talk about. Rogue instead of Apex. I like Rogue because of the damage reduction. The tactics card situation is tight, so I'd rather not have to play Exceptional if I don't have to. Also, man, if you haven't leaned into Rogue and Mutant Absorption, like it's the Montreal special, the double move Mutant Absorption, the amount of times I've rolled 3 or 4 hits on that to drain an enemy build, the amount of times I've drained an enemy build to 0 and then attacked, so I was able to get in, let's say I rolled 3. I've done this plenty of times where I've double moved, roll 3 successes on Mutant Absorption, drained his 2 power, then doing 1 damage, and then I attack and I Absorbing Strike. Like she's so good in the build. Like, yeah, he's got the 4 defenses, but she's able to really drain his power economy and make him a sad boy. So I love Rogue. And she's also good into my least favorite matchup, or one of my least favorite matchups, which is Shield. Being able to drain Fury of Power to let Magneto or Juggernaut still get attacks in before Eye in the Sky blows them up. Really, really good. You could play Apex here, and that's perfectly fine. I just prefer Rogue. I think Apex could just be in the Bill slot. And I have a list of characters we could explore in some of these places. I think Quicksilver could also just be Mystique. That way, like if this was Mystique, we could do something like Mystique, Juggernaut, Rhino, Pyro at, 15? No, that's not great. Rogue at 16 threat on a Cosmic Invasion. That's not bad. You know, we've got a Steel, we've got Speed, Pressure, Mystique with Deception, although I don't really have room for that in the list at the moment. And, you know, Rogue's just a great model. I'm perfectly fine having Emma as my backup, although I really only plan to play her maybe at 16 threat. I'm just testing Magneto at everything right now, and it's been largely fine. But I think Criminal Syndicate at 16 could be an issue, and I might want to play Emma there. So let's take a look at our crises. Madmen. Again, I don't fear the B shape with Magneto, because I could do something like Mags, Lockjaw, Rhino, Quicksilver, Toad. And we've got like 4 models that are great on pay-to-flips. We've got Magneto and Lockjaw being able to... Oh, sorry, 3 models great at pay-to-flips. Magneto providing that pressure, and then we just kind of pick a side to bunker up on once we get the extract lead. If they want to try to come flip over Magneto, fine. He's going to, you know, kill that character next round and then take it back. So I like this, and we want to be at 18 or higher. Intrusions is self-explanatory. It's one of Magneto's better crises. I think, like, depending on who you're going against, I like Magneto, Juggernaut, Bill, and Rogue. If we want to be 4 wide, we could also do something like Toad, Lockjaw, Pyro. It's a little squishy, but that's also not bad. Juggernaut and Magneto sitting on the midline, and then, you know, Pyro and Toad kind of sitting back. I don't love that on intrusions, but it's something you could do. I don't hate doing something like this, where Emma is sitting back, attacking at range, and then Bill, Jugs, Mags sitting on points and, you know, leveraging refraction. I think those are all good. And then Demons. I mean, Demons is pretty self-explanatory for Magneto as well. The thing I've been considering is dropping one of these, and hear me out, is Spider Portals. I like D-shapes. I'm fine with it. The only reason I haven't committed to Spider Portals yet is Magneto flipping one of those is really rough. But I still want to test it because I really like D-shapes, but none of the D-shapes, Extremis or Cosmic, are 18 or higher. If Extremis was 18 or higher, I would really, really consider that instead. I like the idea of Spider Portals because it's a pay-to-flip and we're generating way more power than our opponents typically. So we can afford to pay the tax of the pay-to-flip and still play the extract game or superpowers, etc. But right now, this is what I've committed to. It makes a lot of sense. I think most teams are not going to take our secures in that situation. I think a lot of teams are still going to pick their... I'm sorry, they're going to pick their secures in that situation, which we want. And then we get our extracts. So we get to avoid Researcher into the punchy teams. I think more teams should probably take their extracts into us because Spider Infected and Cubes are a little rough for Magneto, especially Spider Infected. But Spider Infected is one of those ones where I pivot to Emma. So if our opponent pulls their Spider Infected and then we get one of these, you know, we get 18 or 19, we can do Emma, Rhino, let's see, Spider Infected. So they got Prio, they take the center. We don't need Bill there. We could go Rogue, or we could go Juggernaut. If we're at 18, we do something like this. On Spider Infected, you have a Steel here, a Steel here. You got Toad to, like, grab something and just sit back. Juggernaut can go be the Buster, Bunker Buster, something like that. Alternatively, at 19, you know, he can just be Bill. I love this 19 threat team. It's really, really good. I mean, Hellfire is really, really good. But again, if this was Apex, this team's also ridiculous because Hellfire is just really strong. Feeding Apex extra power is great. So again, if you want to be more affiliated, you want to go 8 affiliated models, you could drop Beta Ray Bill for Apex, and I think that's fine. I also like Gwenom there. So she's a good pivot on those 5 wide extracts. Or if our opponent picks their extracts and we get Paranoia in one of these, like I definitely... I don't know if I want to play Magneto on Paranoia either because it just scores so fast. I might want the pivot option here. Alternatively, if we pull our opponent's Cosmic Invasion when we have Prio and one of these and they want to go 16, like I think this is a reasonable 16 that you could play with Prio. Juggernaut extracts Legacy, Toad gets a Legacy, Magneto, if they don't have a safe midline, Magneto punishes that, or Magneto just goes and punishes whoever's going to a side D. So like with this list, you can potentially, you should be able to control 2 extracts round 1 and 2 secures going up 1, and then you wait to see where they want to push, and Magneto just goes and punishes the crap out of them for that. Hammers is parity, but again, we can we know where they're going to go. Magneto can wait and punish that. But alternatively, we could just do something with Emma where, we go something like this, and then like Quicksilver Pyro. Whatever. I don't love that because Quicksilver doesn't get the steal on some. Well, actually, he gets the steal on on these two, but not on Skrulls, which is unfortunate. But at least he can pick up a back scroll. Skrulls is something we'll talk about in a minute, but I think this is a reasonable 16 threat squad. I think you need these to both be affiliated 3s for different values. Hopefully we get some new 3s in the future that help this list out, and maybe I don't need to play Quicksilver. Or we get some different crises where I can play 3 assets that I'm comfortable with at high threat. But for right now, I'd rather do something like this. I'd like to bring Senators back at some point. Senators at 19 is fine because you could do like this group right here with Toad and Rogue. I think this is a good Senators team because you have 1, 2, 3 mobile models to go score points afterwards. You pick up with like Rogue, pick up with Jugs, pick up with Toad. Rhino hopefully steals round 1. Or you could be more conservative and, grab one. You could be more aggressive, grab one of theirs with Juggernaut and just let them sit there. Depending on when you my Hellfire Club, you could. Do you know who I am? One of their models back towards your lines. I don't know. I think it's reasonable. If Quicksilver became Mystique, maybe we'd reconsider Senators. But I want to try to be at 18 or higher, which is why I've chosen these crises. Skrulls, I've tested Montesi there. There's plays we have on Montesi when we go down 2-1 round 1. Like we can send Quicksilver to their back point and try to steal, or Juggernaut go steal their back point and then try to survive. But I'd rather just play it safe with Skrulls again because I love the threat value so much. It's so good. Skrulls is a little awkward if we get Skrulls Gamma at 15. I do something like this. He takes their Skrull. It's a little risky. I think you could also pivot at 15 and do something like this if you wanted to, depending on the team. I don't know which Gamma teams, though, I'd really want to be bringing Emma into. But, like, Bill and Rogue are reasonable on Gamma. But, yeah, I probably want to go Magneto. So those are my crises. Again, I'm reconsidering Skrulls being something else, whether that is Alien Ship. The problem is the 17s we bring are, like, Magneto, Lockjaw, Toad. If we want to be 5-wide, this. And we do get, like, 2 steals, which is nice. We get the pressure with Magneto. It's a little squishy. That's why I don't love it. So, like, if we're into another attrition team, though, we probably drop these guys and do, like, this, maybe. Or we do something like this. Oh, no, that doesn't work. That's illegal. I don't love that team either. I think you probably lean into, like, Juggernaut, Pyro, something like this, into an attrition team at 17. I don't love it, which is why I haven't tried Alien Ship yet. Maybe in that situation you don't play Lockjaw, because if they're an attrition team, they probably play Ease, and you do something like a little bit more like this is reasonable, or this is reasonable, where Pyro's able to incinerate. He's got big damage on him. He hangs around longer than he should with refraction. And then, like, Bill does solid work into attrition teams, Rogue does solid work into attrition teams, and then Magneto's Magneto. You're a little worried about displacement in that setup because you've only got the 1 Asteroid M and you lose the round 1 pressure, which is why, like, maybe if this was Apex, like, this is a solid 17 if that's Apex. So Apex, again, worth reconsidering. Maybe for Alien, if I bring an Alien Ship, maybe I'll reconsider Apex over Bill. But like I said, I've only got 15 games, and I really think in this game you need a lot more reps than people are willing to admit to really understand a list. Like, I've played a fair amount of X-Men, and I could tell you, like, I played a recent game on stream where my X-Men round 1 was horrendous, and it's just because of a lack of reps. Like, 20 games or 15 games with it wasn't enough. Whereas Brotherhood, I played like 100, and I'm like so confident in my deployment, even though I've made changes over the last few years. I just like know how to play them round 1, so I don't get into the same holes I get into playing things I have less reps into. But if I bring an Alien Ship, yeah, I think that's a good shout. Maybe I will try Apex again in that situation. Tactics cards, I'm playing Brace. Nice synergy with Magneto is that when they destroy a terrain piece, you're immediately given the power to Brace. So like you can brace round 1 after interacting with an extract. Cannot borrow that. Really underrated steel card. Probably how most steel cards should be. Like, it's pretty fair. And no one ever really complains about that one. Fallback, because it's just really, really strong. There's an argument that fallback could be recalibration matrix. I want fallback for when I switch to my Hellfire Club, which isn't often. So, like, this could be recal. I don't play Eyes on the Prize, so, because I'm assuming that if I'm playing... Yeah, I'm assuming if I'm playing my Hellfire Club, I really don't need it. But fallback is honestly, like, pretty interchangeable with Eyes. A lot of people don't really want to acknowledge that, but if I'm playing it at 16 threat, which is when I often want to go to Emma, it means I'm probably playing into something like Webs or Criminal Syndicate, where the round 1 pressure isn't something I'm worried about. So fallback over Eyes makes perfect sense there. But again, recal is something I'm considering. Patch Up is maybe the one debatable card where this could be Indomitable. I like Patch Up because Magneto's 8 health on his backside. Juggernaut, Rhino, Bill, or Magneto being patched up can be backbreaking in some matchups where your opponent puts a lot of work in to, damage your characters, and then you patch them up back to full. So, yeah, this is the list. I'm going to pause right now and come back to this in a second with a list of characters that we should consider if we want a Snowflake or we want to try some different options here. All right?